The mask is off the pro-Palestinian protests. If it wasn't already before, on Wednesday, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke before Congress, protesters went wild. They tore down American flags, burned them, put Palestinian flags up in their place. They vandalized a Liberty Bell replica and the Christopher Columbus fountain with graffiti that included Hamas is coming. One guy had a sign calling for the final solution. Allah is gathering all the Zionists for the final solution. It was a mix of hard lefties, college kids, and other young people who've joined the movement following what they were taught in class, Muslim Americans, and others. Antifa surely had a role because the rent-a-rioters come out for any left-wing cause and often make them worse. But these protests clearly cross the line. They vandalize federal property. They should be found and sent to prison. Instead, most of them were released the next morning, even if they were arrested in the first place. They rampaged across the city. Again, in the name of Palestine, clearly saying that they side with the terrorists. Graffiti of Hamas and Hamas is coming makes that plain. The mask is off on the American protesters. The question is, what will our leaders do about it? The White House and Kamala Harris have issued statements condemning the vandalism, condemning the violence, but they're not calling for consequences. We don't know yet if the FBI will be fully deployed in tracking these people down and getting them sent to jail. What we need is federal law enforcement on the job against these people who aren't just protesters. This is not free speech. Vandalism is not free speech. You get to burn your own flag. You don't get to tear someone else's down and burn it. This is not free speech. It's vandalism. It's violence. It's blackmail. It is civil unrest, if not civil war. Antifa is clearly a domestic terrorist group at this point as they go on violent raids across America. These people are not protesters. This is a fifth column. They may be deceiving innocents into going along, but all of these rallies have people in masks or keffiyehs concealing their identity. No one going to them should think that it's innocent. The Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, has disclosed that Iran is helping to fund these protests. Other money is coming from radical, wealthy people, a lowercase c communist millionaire, George Soros charities, and other wealthy people's charities. All those sponsors need to start thinking about disassociating themselves from these menaces. This is not peaceful protest. This is not even fiery, but mostly peaceful protests, as we saw the media covering for the Black Lives Matter riots in 2020. Fact of the matter is that the entire approach of the authorities across America to violent protests, sometimes for legitimate causes or reasonable causes, but violent protests nonetheless, cannot be tolerated. We need law and order. We need true civility. March peacefully, that's fine. Pull this stuff and you need to pay. The people behind this stuff need to be held responsible. Their sponsors need to be held responsible. Shamed, if not actually prosecuted. We can't put up with this. We can't put up with people who don't simply hate Israel, don't simply support Palestine. They hate America. That's part of this rally too. Those were American flags they tore down and burned. Prime Minister Netanyahu gave an impassioned and accurate and effective speech to Congress. Too bad the Democrats were largely boycotting. He spoke about how this is not a clash of civilizations. This is a clash between civilization and barbarians. Again, barbarians who rape, barbarians who murder, barbarians who burn children alive, barbarians who target the innocent. He proposed a new Abraham alliance of civilized Christian, Jewish, atheist, whatever, and Arab countries to face down what is now an axis led by Iran. It calls itself the axis of resistance. It's actually an axis of barbarism, which is at war with civilization. Iran hopes to leverage that into dominance of first the larger Middle East, and then help with its allies, Russia and China, to dominate the world. The West needs to wake up and see that there is a new axis of evil. These countries all want to break up the world order, want to dominate the world, want to force the rest of us to their heel. Ukraine, Gaza, Taiwan, in a sense, it's all one struggle. It's a struggle for civilization against the barbarians.